Inklings are fun, and it's a good thing too, because they have the weight of an entire franchise on their shoulders. The one thing every single Splatoon experience you've ever had has in common is that there was an Inkling right in the center of the screen. And okay, everything I say here also applies to Octolings, but for the sake of time, we're going to focus on the OG species here. Inklings are the glue that hold the game together, and the window that allows you, the player, to enter the world of Splatoon. They need to perfectly communicate what this game is all about in every single frame of gameplay, despite the fact they can't speak a language that humans understand, and most of the time they're facing away from you. So how do you communicate fun and energy without words or facial expressions? Well, with body language. These guys just can't stay still. Even in their idle animation, they throw their weight around as they bounce up and down. As you'd expect from Inklings, squash and stretch is used a ton here to communicate what these squishy cephalopod guys are like. In your normal walk cycle, their entire face will squash up and down with the momentum of their body. Even when simply moving forward, they give off so much energy, with their shoulders raising and lowering, and their head tilting in the opposite direction to counterbalance that movement. When they don't have a weapon in their hands, they also move so much more energetically than they did in Splatoon 2. In fact, the Inklings are full of small changes that make a huge difference. For example, look at how they lean their center of gravity inwards while turning. This gives them a far more realistic sense of weight and looks so much better than the animations from the previous games, which feel very static and boring by comparison.
I want to take a minute to talk about the Inklings' expressions in this game. They are way more expressive in this game than the previous one. Not only are some visual details like the curling bomb animation still here, but new expressions like the roller smile is here too. I really like how much personality they've added with facial expressions alone, and we can see that the most in new victory poses. I just love the expressions they have with every pose. They just feel so loose and dynamic now, more so than the previous game. It might sound silly, but I do really like when they show their pointy teeth. It makes the expression more exaggerated and conveys what they're feeling better. Also, the victory poses is just another opportunity to show off the incredible hair physics. Please, I just want the Splatoon 1 Splatling one back.
I really love how expressive these little guys are in this game. Check out the expression when using a Splatana. You'll barely see it in actual gameplay, but just knowing they look like they're having so much fun swinging that thing around is enough to improve the feel of the game. And let's not forget the amazingly cocky expression on their face when their special is charged as well. What's a little more important though are the animations you'll actually see, and Splatoon 3 perfects these as well. Check out how incredibly cute and well thought out the animations are when testing weapons in the shop. You really get the impression they're excited to be shopping and trying out new gear to use in battle. Inklings are always having fun. That's really the key here.
Okay, I know we're focusing on Inklings here, but real quick, I want to point out a cool little detail when going through the shops. The Inklings lose their balance as the background settles in, whereas the Octolings jump so as to not get dizzy. And this detail is consistent with what we know about both species. And we should appreciate the massive upgraded animation from the first game. These Inklings have gone through so many iterations at this point, both in models and personality. I'm just so happy with how they look now. And again, we should totally bring back this... Okay, I'll stop now.
The animations before and after fights are great too. You can really feel the weight of the Splatling here, and the same applies here, where the Inkling kicks their roller to get more momentum to throw it into the air.
And speaking of weight, trying out the new weapons in Sheldon's shop lets you see a fun animation for each weapon class. And here you can see once again how the weapon's weight affects the Inkling. For example, the Hydra is probably really heavy, and it shows them struggling to carry it. And these animations are different with Octolings, by the way. Again, I don't want to focus on Octolings too much, but has anyone else noticed that they seem less serious in this game? They adopted the Inkling lifestyle real quick.
They don't hold back on being cool either, like with the blaster stance here with their foot slightly raised, or here where they wedge the Splatana into the ground to lean on it. There's so much effort put into creating cool interactions between the Inkling and their weapon, and they all look so good. Emotes push these already great animations even further, giving your Inkling more personality and the player more customization. Though that said, it is a bit of a shame only the flip out emote will involve your weapon, while the others are just generic and the same for everyone. To be clear, this isn't really a complaint though. I completely understand giving each emote unique animations for every weapon would not only take a huge amount of time, but would limit what they're able to do. For example, you wouldn't be able to dab with a Splatling in your hands. But I do think a secondary emote in the vein of flip out would be nice to have in the future, just to allow for more variation in emotes that utilize your weapon. But they're not just expressive. Inklings have all been completely remodeled. I'm sure you're all aware that they're taller, continuing an ongoing trend since Splatoon 1, but did you notice their anatomy is more detailed too? With certain clothing, it's possible to see their collarbones and the sternocleidomastoid muscles which come down from the neck into the sternum, which, wait a minute, do Inklings even have bones? Well, either way, it's a cool detail.
We'll be discussing Salmon Run in a later video more in depth, but I wanted to briefly mention something that I thought was neat. Their uniform as a whole now resembles that of a firefighter in this game, and their helmets cover a large chunk of their face. This to me makes the job feel even more shady and is in line with Mr. Grizz's branding. It also makes it feel like that one-size-fits-all solution, you know? Anyway, I'm a huge fan of how the helmets look in this game.
Check out the Inklings' new ink tank as well. These things are super sleek compared to the old ones, and I really love how you can see the little tube inside that brings the ink into the weapon. Speaking of weapons, one thing I love about the specials is the new text they come with. When you're holding a Tacticooler, it doesn't simply say place, but instead, who's thirsty. This kind of thing applies throughout the game, and it's a great way to communicate the Inkling's personality in a way that ties into the UI. It's almost as if the game is speaking to you in a way that shows you what's inside the mind of an Inkling, thus further immersing you into the experience. The Tacticooler's design is great too. The cool air really helps push the feeling that these are refreshing drinks. When the reef slider reaches its destination, they do a little Akira slide. And if you watch this frame by frame, you can see the shark actually disappears before the explosion happens. Looks pretty funny. The track it creates are made up of lane dividers from a pool, which are blown away by the explosion so they can despawn in an interesting way instead of just vanishing. We won't spend too much time on specials, but I want to quickly point out that the inkjet continues the theme of the tea and coffee machine-based technology, and let's not forget about the return of tentamissiles as well. To be honest though, now that tentamissiles are less widely used, I actually miss being able to bully long-range people.
You may have noticed that when your special is charged, your Inkling's hair will glow and fly all over the place. Even their posture and facial expressions change. But something I'm just noticing for the first time is that there's another glow that stays on the head as well, and it even stays there in squid form. Maybe most of you already knew that, but I like how many visual indicators there are for something as important as your special.
Something right in your face that you may not have noticed is completely new are the hair physics in this game, and I think they're a huge improvement. The results you get are a lot more fun, like when you spin around. By comparison, in the old games it felt more like a preset animation than real-time physics. Some hairstyles even have fringe physics now, which is a really great additional detail that gives the hair so much more life. Another cool detail are the unique animations when coming out of Squid Surge, and I especially love how shooters will hold their weapon forward with one hand. I think this is the first time we've seen one-handed shooting in this game, but it looks really cool and adds to the feeling of quickly jumping out at your opponent and attacking them by surprise, like you're in an action movie or something. The Inkling's eyes will also follow the camera in this game, and this is most easily seen if you take a look at them from the side. In Splatoon 2 they just stare into the distance, but in 3 you can clearly see they're looking towards whatever you are. And finally, they really put way too much effort into the hologram Inklings you see in the lobby. Did you notice there are actually projectors in the roof to make these holograms happen? You can even see the trail of light between them and the hologram they're projecting. Not to mention the fact they purposely programmed in the flaws of a 2D projection. From head on they look 3D, but when you start to see the image from an unintended angle, the illusion falls apart and you can see it's just a 2D image. Did you know that every single time you play on Hammerhead Bridge, the game actually shows you the top of the bridge for a couple of frames? This area is even complete with roads and signs, even though a normal person would never notice it. For more over-analysis on Splatoon 3's maps, go to the video on Deku Gamer's channel by going to the Splatoon 3 analysis playlist. Stick around for the Splatoon 3 hub video coming soon, there's a lot of really cool hidden details in there. If you want to improve your art for free, you can join the Learning to Draw Discord server, there's like 2,000 people in there now, which is pretty cool, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and that's it for this video, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.